You cannot have a good sales process if you don't put yourself out there. So a lot of time it comes back to that first pillar. How consistent are you at putting yourself out there? And here's a tip: use the language that they use. Don't talk about all the things that you offer. Talk about all the things that they want, that they are going to get. So if they're coming to you for like, let's solve this problem in my family. Hey, was this discovery call really valuable for you? What was most valuable? What was your biggest insight? What do you need to focus on? All right, go take care of the actions that we talked about, and let's connect again in a week to talk about next steps for you if you'd like to do that. Sure, absolutely.
Hey, it's Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw and unedited every week in our free Facebook community.
All right, Coaches Nation, welcome to another edition of the Coach's Journey podcast. I'm Daniel Fernandes, your host today. And today I want to talk about the three most important parts of your coaching business. Now, you might be thinking like, is it AI? Is it marketing? Well, it's probably not the things you think the way we lay it out. And if you come to our workshop on AI and coaching last week, we talked about this a lot. In fact, we talked about it today at our CMC Pro member 90-day challenge for helping you build clients. And every coach I talk to has one of these three areas that is missing or has an opportunity to level up. They're either missing consistency or they're missing a big piece of that puzzle. So I want to walk through the three pillars. And if you do these three pillars consistently, your coaching business will grow. It's that simple, but it's not simple because it's not, well, it is simple, but it's not easy. And that's where a lot of coaches struggle. And if you don't have support or community around you helping you make sure you're building these pillars of your business, and yes, AI can help you with some of these. Yes, you can automate some of this stuff, but the process of building it is what turns you into a great coach too. So I'm going to walk through these three pillars for you. And what I'd like you to do is think about which one of these three pillars is the bottleneck right now, because every business has a constraint. And there's usually just one constraint in your business. There's one thing that's just really the bottleneck or the barrier, and it's in one of these three pillars. Because you can say like, oh, I don't want to focus on these three pillars. I just want to focus on the AI. Well, AI, what part of your business is AI going to help you with? And the answer is not everything. I mean, yes, AI can help you with everything, but I want you to understand this from a business mindset point of view and a coaching business perspective. Because as you build your coaching business, if you're not consistent or lacking in one of these three areas, it will hold your business back. 100% guaranteed. And that includes whether you use AI or not. So let's start with the first pillar here. If you're watching this on video, I'm going to draw it over here. But if you're watching the audio, I want you to imagine three circles. First one is putting yourself out there. And the reason it's called putting yourself out there and not marketing is because it doesn't have to be digital. It can be digital. It can be in person. It can be phone calls. It can be DMs. It can be social media. There's a lot of ways to make yourself, the word I would use is visible, and visible perhaps towards an outcome, right? Visible as a coach. If you're not visible as a coach, you're not going to be able to get any leads, right? And so you want to have leads, but the way to do that is to make yourself visible and to put yourself out there, to talk about coachy things, whether it's with people in your network, whether it's just asking for referrals or following up with those referrals, getting in front of people somehow. And so there's lots of different versions of this. In my business, it's a lot of referrals, right? Make sure I'm asking for the referrals, making people think about who in your life would really benefit from what we're doing here. And then following up those referrals and inviting them forward. And that we'll get to that. But are you getting yourself out there? So for most coaches, they think, I need to build a huge social media following. In fact, today in our 90-day challenge, we were talking through with a coach that needed to figure out their AI. And I was like, let's talk about, what are you trying to figure out? Well, I want to build a workshop or a boot camp for a certain niche. And the problem wasn't that they needed more AI. In fact, you can go down a million rabbit holes with AI. Now, you can use AI once you're clear on what you're going to use AI for and whether it's going to make the difference. But just having AI doesn't automatically give you a strategy and give you a plan. So we worked through this boot camp, and once we figured out what the plan is, like why it could work, what successes can we build on, and what is clear and what is not clear, then suddenly you start figuring out like, If I put myself in front of people this way, then I can leverage AI in that way. But otherwise, you're just kind of like shooting blanks and just trying AI on a lot of stuff. And there's value to experimenting. Absolutely, you should be experimenting. But experimenting with putting yourself out there is very, very valuable to the coaching business, because this is what leads to everything else. If you don't do this, nothing actually ends up happening in your coaching business. And by the way, meeting somebody in your network for coffee or for lunch is a way of putting yourself out there, because you're building a connection. And that person might know people, or might be a client, or you might be their client. Who knows? But if you're not putting yourself out there, whether it's virtually or in person, whether it's digital or analog or whatever way you do that, you will not be able to build a coaching business. So I'm not going to give you the one way fits all for this, because it's not. It is absolutely a custom for you. And that's the challenge. There's so many different ways to do this. You might be scattered between a lot of different ways. And oftentimes the answer in this area is focus, being strategic, having a plan, and knowing how you want to put yourself out there right now. And say, I'm going to commit to this way of putting myself out there so I can learn what works in putting myself out there. Like maybe you're going to learn, like, this is actually not where I want my energy. This is not what's making the difference for me. And maybe you have to adjust a little bit. So part of putting yourself out there is learning as you go and doing. If you're resisting putting yourself out there, you'll find yourself distracted by all kinds of things, like working on your website or working on AI stuff, or like spending a lot of time doing things that aren't actually getting you connecting with people. So if this isn't, I would like you to rate yourself, 0 to 10. How are you doing putting yourself out there? And then another layer of that, how consistent are you? Two pieces of this, right? And for each of these pillars, it's going to be two things. How are you doing this? And how good would you say that is? And how consistent? All right. So if you're extremely consistent, you're doing it an hour a day, then you can give yourself a very high grade on consistency. But you might be doing things that aren't really working at all. So then you can give yourself a lower value on, are you doing the right things? So that's the first pillar, is putting yourself out there. And now I want to go to the second pillar, because if you are putting yourself out there consistently, that leads to the second pillar, which is really, really important. And a lot of people think different things when we say this. Leading the sales process. Are you, an emphasis on leading the sales process, right? Are you leading the sales process? What this means is when you put yourself out there, you get in contact with people, you get potentially leads, you get connections. Are you getting yourself to help them take the next step in your process? And as we talk about, there's a process to making people into a coaching client. There's a relational process. You build that relationship with them, you provide value, you discover what their needs are, and you make them an offer. But they never get to that point if you don't lead them through it. And as I learned in the dating world back when I was dating, like, if you don't take a step forward, they don't know that you're interested. They don't know that you can actually add value. Well, I'll use the word add value because we're talking about coaching business here, but you have to show them and indicate that there's value to continuing together, to collaborate, to partner, to coach, whatever it is for you. But leading them means a lot of things. It means taking them from somebody that saw you in your visibility and to someone who's in your pipeline. Now, not everybody you put yourself out there in front of or connect with is going to be a lead, and that's okay. We always recommend developing your network, becoming that person who connects a lot with people, because that leads to people who you can help, whether it's people that you connect with personally or people that they know. Because as you connect with people, you can always say, who do you know? So you can put yourself out there and they can help you put yourself out there. But once you've identified somebody as somebody you need to take through the sales process, i.e. a lead, i.e. somebody you can really make a difference for, somebody that needs your help, then you have to lead them. And that could look like this. It could look like you inviting them to a connection call, a support call. Hey, would you like some support on that? Yes, I would like some support. Why don't we do a call? Let's talk 15 minutes about what kinds of support you're looking for. And if it's fit, we can go deeper than just 15 minutes. Sure, great. Put it in the calendar. All right. You get to that call. You have the call. You don't just leave it. You say, sounds like we could, if it's true, we could actually go a lot deeper here and provide a lot more to you. Why don't we have a longer discovery call? This is just an example. You don't have to do it this way, but sure, let's have a discovery call. Okay, so you get them on the discovery call. And we have a whole process for discovery calls in the Coaching Mastery community in CMC. But if you take them through a good discovery call, you learn about them. You learn the context of their life, the landscape. You don't just go in and solve everything, because they need support because they couldn't solve it yet. So it's probably more complex than just, hey, let's have a conversation and solve this now. You discover what's going on in their life, what's going on with these challenges that they're facing and what they want to be able to build, what their outcomes are. And you lead them through that sales process. And part of leading them through the sales process is you have to have enough people to lead through the sales process. If you only have one lead because you connected to a few people, you have one lead, it's going to feel like a lot of pressure. You have to make that lead work, but we don't want you to feel that pressure. You want to have so many people here so that you have so many people here. And once you have enough of those people, the more iterations you do, the better you get leading them from connection to connection call to discovery call to an offer. Whether you do that offer in the discovery call or whether you do that in a separate call, which we often recommend to do an offer call. Hey, was this discovery call really valuable for you? What was most valuable? What was your biggest insight? What do you need to focus on? All right, go take care of the actions that we talked about, and let's connect again in a week to talk about next steps for you if you'd like to do that. Sure, absolutely. Put that call on the calendar. In the meantime, maybe you send them your testimonials, maybe you check in on them and say, hey, excited for a call on Monday or whatever day it is. Let me know how those actions went. Whatever way you do that, I'm just giving you examples. And you get on the call with them. And now this is the next step to lead them through the sales process. It's constantly invitation. Like you don't want to force them to like show up to a call. You want to invite them to show up to a call for their benefit. And as you do that, then they come in to get supported. They come in because they want to. And then you just ask them, do you want to take the next step? And the next step is from the discovery call, there's an offer call. And maybe you don't tell them it's come through the offer call. This is a call to get them support, right? To keep them open to solving the problems that they're facing that you've discovered in your discovery call. So once they come to the offer call, you say, like, would you like to continue these conversations we've been having? Would you like to get more support? Like, yeah, well, let me tell you a bit about how that could look. Would you like to talk about that? Yeah, I would. Okay. And notice there's permission along the way. You're always inviting them and getting their permission to continue. And as you do that, you co-create that together. You co-create whatever it is they need. And here's a tip. Use the language that they use. Don't talk about all the things that you offer. Talk about all the things that they want, that they are going to get. So if they're coming to you for, like, let's solve this problem in my family, you might talk about things that aren't related to that if they haven't talked about anything else that matters to them. You might want to talk about, oh, well, we do these 3 concepts, but make sure you relate it to their situation, their problem. Like if you want to talk about those concepts, how does that concept solve that problem, right? Because you can add all sorts of extraneous things to this program, then you might think, oh, well, this might not be for me, because the point of the coaching program is it's customized. I'm talking about a one-on-one program here as an example. Similar strategies apply to group enrollment. But if you don't lead them through the sales process, if you don't build that habit and knowing, like feeling confident about leading them through that sales process, asking them to take that next step, or rather inviting them to take that next step, you're not going to get them as a client. And if you don't have enough people coming in and enough people to lead through, you won't get the practice that you need to feel very confident in this process. Because whether you use AI or not, well, at one point or another, they're going to have a conversation with you. If you want to have a coaching business, they're going to have a conversation with you. And that conversation needs to feel as natural as it can. You need to be as confident as you can be. You need to know that you can help them, and you need to actually demonstrate that, and you need to invite them and have them help to make the decision to buy the coaching, right? Because it serves them, and it's going to make a difference for them. And that's why you got into coaching in the first place, isn't it? You want to make a difference. Well, this is where it comes down. You can't make that difference unless yourself out there, you lead them through the sales process. Then, the part that every coach loves, which is develop your coaching skills. Coaches are actually mostly just pretty good in this area. Developing your coach. That's a DYCS. Develop your coaching skills if you're watching this. Coaches, today we have people rate themselves, and they typically rate themselves very highly here, coaches, a lot, because they want to do the coaching. It makes sense. Like, you go do your coaching, you develop your coaching skills, you're very interested in this topic. But the pieces of the puzzle that are less familiar, that are a little bit more resistant, that are a little bit edge of growth type stuff, very uncomfortable, is putting yourself out there and the leading through the sales process. You need to do these if you want to do this one. You need to do those first 2 pillars if you want to do the coaching skills. And, you can, the third step is like, do coaching, but doing coaching develops your coaching skills. Reviewing your sessions develops your coaching skills. Honestly, leading people through a sales process really develops your coaching skills. A whole other dimension of coaching skill. You're coaching people through the sales process is what you're doing. So pillar 1, put yourself out there. Pillar 2, leading people through the sales process. And pillar 3, developing your coaching skills. Those are the 3 pillars. If you're doing all 3 of these consistently, your coaching business will grow. Whatever your goals are. Your goals might be to just have 3 or 4 clients. Your goals might be to have 20 clients. Your goals might be to have a group. Whatever that case is, regardless of the systems underlying this or the habits underlying this, or whether it's manual or automated, you need to figure out how to do these things consistently. And I highly recommend doing a lot of this stuff manually so you understand what you're doing, and then automating some of that. Maybe finding out which is the part that has the highest level of rote stuff that you don't need to do yourself, and figure out how to automate that. We can help you with all this, but the more important part is being clear for yourself that you know how to put yourself out there. You have a strategy, you have a plan, you have at least you're practicing it. You're leading people through the sales process and you're practicing that. And then you're continually developing your coaching skills. And, in CMC, we have a coaching clinic where you come and coach somebody, and then we all observe and we talk about feedback. And that can be such a powerful level up, as the coaches who come to it have really gotten a significant edge because that was so real for them. They've done the coaching, and then we're all like, well, here's where your coaching was maybe great and maybe a little bit not so great, or maybe ineffective. And they come out with some really powerful insight. That's an important process. You can do that by yourself by reviewing your coaching. You can do that in a group like CMC by just coming to something like the coaching clinic and being able to observe coaching being done. It makes you think, how would I do that? That was a cool idea. I never tried that before. So there's lots of ways to develop your coaching skills. But if you want to build a coaching business, you need to have the trifecta. You need to put yourself out there consistently. You need to lead people through the sales process consistently. And you need to develop your coaching skills consistently. And so you need to coach a lot. And you can't coach a lot if you don't do the first 2 pillars. So hopefully you've gotten something important out of this today. And I'd like you to reply, put a comment wherever you're seeing this on what's most important for you to remember, and what can you say to other coaches out there that might make the difference for them. And if you want some more help, we're here to support coaches. We have a passion for that. We know coaching is so critical in a world where there's so many forces opposed to people. We want to be a force supporting them and helping them accelerate towards what they want. That's something that fulfills us. And we love coaches for that reason, because they're making a difference in the world. And so if you want support in that process, cmc.coach, come join our free Facebook group. Reach out to us, book a call with us. We want to support you in that process. And if you want to join our pro membership so that you make a commitment to the coaching world, to a career as a coach, we're here to support you in that too. Whether you need help with AI, with clienting, with any of these 3 pillars, that's what we do. We do mindset coaching with you. Coaches, you all need to ask yourselves, which of these 3 pillars is the weak link right now? And you cannot have a good sales process if you don't put yourself out there. So a lot of time it comes back to that first pillar. How consistent are you at putting yourself out there, whether it's outreach or whether it's in person, whatever it is for you, put yourself out there. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Coach's Journey podcast. We hope you got some value out of it. Please share it with your friends who are coaches. Let them know about us. We are here to support you, and we'll talk to you next time.